I'm not gonna say it's been such a long time since I've been doing this because I keep saying that in every single video. It's just that I don't really have the time to do this a lot. Because let me give you a short life update and then we'll move to today's topic. And I've been wanting to film this video for a long time because this was a topic that I really wanted to talk about again. I feel like I've touched upon this topic a while ago in one of my videos, but it was just a short, small segment of the video, or it was all in all in a short video. That's why I just wanted to get into that more. So, my life update. I did a small life update on my stories as well, but let me just talk to you a little bit about that. So, as you know, I am working at an IT company. I work as an internal communications specialist, so I've had that work for a while now, more than 2.5 years. And recently I've applied to another job as well. And I am a teacher's associate at the university that I was studying in. So it's a great achievement for me. So it feels like both of my jobs are pretty flexible, but it means that I have to combine both of the jobs, which well, let me say both of them are pretty chaotic. In the amount of the workload. I don't know. I kind of forgot how to speak, but whatever. So one of them is pretty loaded at the moment because my manager left the company, and then my team left the company, and now I'm all alone in the department, which means that I have to do all of it by myself, and also some of the things I am doing it with my new manager, and that's why it's pretty hectic sometimes. And many of you guys are asking me why I'm not replying very quickly, why I'm not active in my DMs. That's the reason why, because I don't usually like to simply reply and then just, I don't know, disappear. First of all, I am a texter and I love texting, and I usually don't do that, but that's why I'm not, I know how you guys feel. But the second one is that I don't, some people have their own, just replies that they've written in their notes, and then they can just copy and paste and stuff like that. But I don't like to do that because I feel like it's really robotic. So I am replying to all of my DMs, and I put some thought in it, some emotion. I also read your cases and your worries and everything. So I put a lot of energy and work even in the replies, and I love doing that. That's why I just don't want to do it like it's nothing important to me. That's why I'm leaving that to usually to either Fridays and maybe even Fridays and the weekends, because that's how I manage to keep that communication going with you. Now that I have like the two jobs, and also I have the messages that I'm getting from you guys are like more than 30 and 40 messages a day, and it's not like 30 messages for the week. It's more than 30 messages a day, and then when I reply to those messages, you reply back. So it means like it's still, the count keeps increasing. Okay, so that's why I just wanted to put a disclaimer in this video, and also on my stories as well, so you guys know that I really like communicating with you, and I feel like that's what keeps us going, is the connection that we're building together. It's not like I'm creating a gap between me and my followers, because they're not like my followers, they're my friends, and it's really important for me to keep that connection, and I don't want you to feel like I'm ignoring you or ghosting you or anything of that sort. Okay, let's get into the topic of this video, which is I wanted us to talk about hate comments, negative comments on social media. And the reason for that is relatively recently, I decided to open a TikTok account. And even though I'm getting lots of followers here on Instagram, and I'm posting a video on YouTube. Okay, you got it. So I'm mostly active on Instagram, but I still wanted to change some of the format that I'm posting my poetry in, but also to understand what is TikTok, like how do you reach an audience, and how do you reach a wider audience on TikTok as well. And that's the reason why I opened an account, and I was like, okay, so I can just keep posting a few videos on Instagram, but most of them will be kept on TikTok. The ones that are just me reading poetry, and the ones that I talk in are going to stay for YouTube. So I got it all figured out. I opened an account on TikTok, and then I knew that from some of the cases, I knew that TikTok was pretty toxic because there is a lot of negativity and a lot of hatred over there. But I didn't think that it would be the case for me, because I usually think that maybe those people have done something to receive that negativity and stuff like that. Maybe they hurt somebody's feelings. Maybe they said something wrong, but it wasn't like that. And at first I was getting like pretty cute, beautiful, positive comments from people, and then I got a few negative comments, and I wanted to talk about that, the psychology behind it, how do you feel, and what were my thoughts connected to that, and what was my conclusion after all of it. So I posted 2 videos that I wanted to talk about. The first one is a singing cover that I posted, and I never, ever, ever claimed to be a professional singer. So I sing because I enjoy doing it, and I think that it helps me relax a lot. So I decided that I would just combine and I would post singing covers together with poetry reading videos on my TikTok, and then I got a lot of beautiful, inspiring, incredible messages from people, but also I got a few negative comments as well, where people were like, hold on, let me just read those comments for you guys for you to see that there are actually negative comments, because some people were like, you guys are fighting, and the people who thought like positively about me and about my singing were kind of calling out the people who were negative. And then some people were like, you're fighting invisible comments. It's just because people started deleting those comments after somebody called them out on those. So somebody wrote like, work on pronouncing the words clearer. And then, she's the extra singer and I hate extra singers. Keep practicing. So a lot of comments like that, and some of the comments were deleted as well. So I was like, okay, interesting. And I remember that it didn't really get to me as much because, first of all, I don't think that I'm that good at singing. I'm not bad at singing, but it's just like in the middle. It's okay. So it didn't really hurt my feelings as much, but I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Some of the people thought that it was bad, okay, and I still kept it in my mind. The second video that I posted was me reading one of my poems, and that's where the situation got tricky, because when somebody's being negative about my poetry, about my writings, sometimes there comes a time where it really I wouldn't say it hurts my feelings, because it wasn't that deep, but it just touched my feelings negatively. Let me just read what it was. And this is the main comment that I wanted to address. So there was this person that wrote, sorry girl, try painting. And then he wrote, do you know what poem is? It has rhymes and meaning. And that's where it got to me. It's because, first of all, I'm not saying that I'm a poet. I mean, I'm an aspiring poet. I would love to be a writer in the future. But I'm not saying I'm a professional writer and stuff. But the thing is that so my major is English and communications, and I've studied literature and poetry for a very long time, because I've had many different courses like American literature, English literature, and then I've had creative writing, which again, you were studying those two, and then I had modern poetry. So I've taken a lot of classes, and also like separately I've been studying poetry and literature a lot on many different levels. And so the funny thing for me there is, without even knowing whether I know anything about poetry, that person started kind of attacking me and saying like, do you know what a real poem is? It has rhymes and meaning. Okay, I absolutely agree on the meaning part, and but I don't really agree with the rhyming part. The interesting part is that that person didn't know about my story and about how I started writing, and the most important thing, which is so when I was little, we would usually study Armenian poetry a lot at school, and if you take a look at Armenian poetry, it usually rhymes. Most of the times it always rhymes. And then I had that stereotype in me for a very, very long time that a poem has to rhyme. And if it doesn't rhyme, then it's not a poem, it's not a good one, and it's not easily comprehensible and digestible to people. And in the past, I would really force myself to rhyme in every single poem. And I started working on that stereotype and on that habit of mine when I was at the university and I had to write a poem for my class, for my creative writing class. And he would bring us different examples which didn't contain a rhyme. And there was even a poem that was just one line long, and even that was considered a poem. And I was like, okay, so I guess I have to just shift my perspective and try to understand what is it that I feel like it kind of makes a poem, and why do I feel like if it doesn't rhyme it's not a poem. And I worked on that a lot. I've been thinking about that. I've been working on myself and then changing myself, and then there came a time where I finally got to the point where I would write something, and even if it didn't rhyme, I would feel okay with posting it. I would feel okay with reading it, and I would feel like it was a good one, okay, so to say. And so I've spent a lot of time on that and on all of those feelings. And to be very honest, it was really hard for me to understand, because I knew that I wanted to write both poetry and fiction as well. But with poetry, I was like, okay, it doesn't rhyme, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And whenever I wrote poems in the past, I would constantly think of a rhyming word. And I would try to connect the meaning to that. I still do that from time to time when I want my poems to rhyme. But in the past, I would literally force myself to do that. And I was really mad at myself, because it felt like I was forcing those lines to rhyme and forcing those lines to form the meaning that I didn't really want to put at that moment. And after that, when I started finally getting rid of the rhyming and just I was letting myself free from all of the rhyming, I felt like finally I could breathe. I could finally accurately put into words what I was feeling at the moment and what I was thinking at the moment. And the funny thing for me was that this person didn't know the whole story, and obviously he didn't know the whole story, but he was like, it doesn't rhyme, and it doesn't have a meaning, and that's why this is not a poem. And I was like, okay, well, this is an interesting thing, like how we can misjudge somebody's work or just somebody just because we don't know the story behind the whole piece. And the second, and also there was this one thing, is because there are so many famous poets that have written their poems and their pieces without a rhyme, and it's still considered a poem. So this is a thought that I'm having in many different spheres, and it's not only the literature or the poetry thing, but usually it happens with the linguistical thing. Is, for example, if you're not a famous writer and you want to punctuate the things the way that you want to, people will say like, you're not good at punctuation, you're not good at grammar, you're not good at English and stuff. But if it's done by a writer, let's say Emily Dickinson, she was putting the dashes every time, so it was her style, but nobody says that she didn't know punctuation, right? So there's this kind of ambiguous mentality for people, like if that person is already a writer, an established writer, you don't usually judge that person, and that's okay. I'm not for judging, I'm just saying that for that person it's considered to be creative freedom, but for you it's considered to be lack of knowledge of grammar and stuff like that, which was very interesting. And so coming back to my point is that so he was like, yeah, it doesn't rhyme, it's not a poem. So I remember the case that there's this poem written by Walt Whitman called When I Heard the Learned Astronomer, and that poem doesn't rhyme, but it's still considered to be a poem. So my thoughts were like, how would that guy respond to that? So is it a poem because it was written by Walt Whitman, or even if it was written by Walt Whitman, it's not a poem just because it doesn't rhyme? That was one. And the second thing was the fact that he said that my poem doesn't have a meaning. Which was again interesting because that poem that he commented on had a lot of meaning to me. It was really, really personal and a very vulnerable one. It was dedicated to the person that I lost, one of the closest people of mine, and that I lost a few years ago, but I still have that pain and heartbreak, and I still miss that person. So I tried to combine all of those feelings and write about that because I've been wanting to write about that for a very long time. I have a few pieces, but I felt like the moment came that I had to write about it again. And then after all of that, that person says like it doesn't have a meaning. Wow. I was like, you can't even imagine how much it means to me and how much of all of those emotional part it contains. But I didn't write all of those things. And then I tried to be very positive and kind and well-mannered because I still don't want to be negative towards the people who are negative to me. And I was like, I actually do know what a poem is, and it doesn't always have to rhyme. Let me know if you want me to send you a few famous poems that don't rhyme. And he was like, if there's no rhyme and meaning and rhythm, what's the point? That's not a poem. You should read books more. And I was like, okay. So I decided not even, I'm not even addressing this comment what made me feel better. So I was like, I'm not going to address the comment anymore. And he also wrote, why are you writing a poem about me losing someone? Which again made me understand that comment itself, made me understand that that person doesn't really understand or maybe imagine why I'm doing what I'm doing and what's the point of somebody writing whatever you're feeling. If you lost somebody, it doesn't mean that I cannot write about it. And a lot of the reactions that I'm getting from you guys is, thank you so much for putting into words what I am feeling at the moment, because I cannot put it into words and you're the one helping me do that. And that was one of the best things that I could get from you guys, those words saying that I really help you understand what you're feeling and I help you put into words whatever you're keeping inside. And also, I wasn't really trying, like, one of my main goals is not for me to write how you guys are feeling. I was writing whatever I was feeling, and if it relates to you, then it means that I've also written whatever you guys were feeling at the moment, which I thought was obvious. But so the conclusion was of all of this is that I've been feeling, I wouldn't say that it really hurt me. In the past, it was driving me crazy when I would get negative comments on something connected to me, whether it's the things that I'm doing or the things that I'm writing, and I would feel really, really sad because of it. And I wouldn't say that I haven't thought about those comments a lot, because I have, especially the poetry ones. The singing ones, not really, but the poem ones were really harsh in my opinion. I don't know. But the thing is that I've thought about that. I didn't cry. I wasn't really, really sad, which I was thankful for. But I've thought about those comments. I realized that I've been thinking about those comments for 2 days. I've kept kind of going back to the moment where I was reading those comments, and I was thinking of those words, and I was thinking about that person, like, and stuff like that. So it means that in a way, it affected me. It still affected me. And the good thing about all of this is that I started kind of getting stronger thanks to social media, and I started finding the value in whatever I'm doing myself instead of constantly searching for it online. And also, even if in the past, if I got like 99 positive comments and then one negative comment, I would just put this aside and I would just concentrate on the negative one. And I knew that it was a bad trait, and I worked on myself a lot, and at the moment I was like, I started controlling all of my thoughts, and I was like, you should not pay attention to the negative comment as much. You should not think about it for a long time, because it's going to be bad for you. That person just wrote the negative comment and he just disappeared. He didn't even think about that afterwards, I'm pretty sure. But you keep thinking about that, and it's bad for your physical and mental health. So at the moment, I decided to just close my eyes on all of the negativity. So 2 things, the good ones, okay? The first one is that I started finding value in whatever I'm doing myself, instead of always and only looking at the reactions of the outside world. And again, it doesn't mean that you guys' comments don't mean a lot to me. They mean the world to me. And you guys help me continue doing what I'm doing, because you guys motivate me and inspire me every single second, and I mean it. But I just have to find that value for myself as well. That's one. And the second one is that we have to be able to take the negativity out of our brains and of our hearts whenever we feel it, whenever we see it. It's very, very hard. It's not easy, and it might not happen really quickly, but you have to work on yourselves, just like I keep working on myself. It still affected me for a little while, for a few days, but I try to analyze those things, and even if I feel hurt, I start writing about that, and that helps me get that negativity out of myself as well. So if you want me to talk about the different techniques that I'm trying to kind of get that negativity out, let me know, and I'll post another video on that. But both of those things were, I think, healthy for me to learn. And my last thing that I wanted to say is that please, all of you guys who are on social media, please don't be negative. There's no good and there's no pleasure in being negative. If you say something negative, like, why? Knowing that you might hurt that person's feelings, you might be in that person's thoughts all the time with your negativity. And like, why would anybody get pleasure from hurting somebody? So please, whenever you're writing something, whenever you're posting something, please be very sensitive, because you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know the whole context of the story or the piece of anything that you're addressing. You might give constructive feedback, and that's okay. Like, for example, you know what, I really like this part, but I feel like you could work more on this part, and that would be okay. I'm not saying you have to adore everything that you see or everybody that you see, but still be very, very sensitive in your language, because words actually hurt. They hurt very, very deeply. And I try to be very sensitive as well. It's not like I'm preaching positivity and sensitivity, and I'm not doing that myself. I am. Before writing something, I keep like rethinking about it for hundreds of times before I actually either post it or before I actually reply to somebody. So just a few thoughts. I'm not trying to be, really a teacher or a preacher here, but just I really felt like I had to share all of that with you, and let's just live in positivity and kindness. There's so many like bad things that we cannot actually control that are happening in the world. Let's say some earthquakes and everything like that, some natural disasters and stuff happening in the world, that if there are things that we can control, let's just feel it with love and kindness and positivity and understanding. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and especially for this one. Thank you for watching me rant for like how many minutes? I don't know, because I've been doing it in a few parts, maybe like 30 minutes or so, or 20 to 30 minutes. Thank you so much for being with me. I love you, and thank you for being the best, and thank you for being by my side.